Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 12 Talk podcast. We're here for a pre-combine special. This is our prospect watch. We're going to be looking at some fantastic prospects that Mitch has compiled all the information for. We'll go through exactly where we think they're going to go in the draft, how they'll fit with the Seahawks, and also we'll start looking at how they've done and give some justification. Let us know if you're listening. By all means, feel free to comment. We'd love to hear from you. There we go. Just a quick apology. I'm sorry. Usually we do this on a Sunday in the off season, but my internet has been awful. If I cut out, that's because I'm hotspotting from my phone. Adapt and overcome as you will. Thank you, Mitch, my technical master. But hopefully that will all be rectified soon. But anyway, this is possibly Mitch's favorite time of the year. It is all about the draft. It's all about the prospects. The combine is coming up in just under an hour. Mitch, how are you feeling?
I'm so excited. It's my Christmas. This period of the year is my Christmas. I've likened myself to Mariah Carey, or being
Michael Bublé,
defrosted and wheeled out for the draft season. This is my time that I love the most. Super excited now to see what sort of players we're interviewing and keeping a keen eye on, because it'll give us a good idea of what the next era of Seahawks football looks like in terms of its personnel and things. So, man, I'm so hyped. Less than an hour to go. I've got snacks and energy drinks. Honestly,
time of work.
I booked a week off work for the combine. Yeah, mate, so excited. Really hyped for this. So can't wait.
I'm going to change your name in Discord to Mitch Draft Goblin. You only come out out your cave for this. I'm really excited. Sure. I mean, we've been doing and we've seen all over social media so many mock drafts, and I try and meet with a sense of trepidation because we don't know what's going to happen in free agency, who we're going to be looking at more than others. But the list you've compiled, there's a lot of really interesting prospects there, and whether they come to us or they go elsewhere in the league, I think this is something that we need to address. I mean, I'm now going to have to rethink my draft strategy on a lot of my mock drafts, purely down to who you've mentioned on this and where I could possibly get them, and other people might be doing the same. With that,
well, I was going to say, in regards to the names I have popped on here, a lot of these guys are players of positional need at positions where we're picking as well. So I think they're players who will be available and will, they'll be the kind of players that you see available when we're about to pick, and they'll be on the tip of your tongue when you say, oh, well, we could take this guy or that guy. There's going to be decisions about some of these guys, and we very well could take, one or two of these. I think genuinely could be taking some of these. So.
Yeah, we'll have to see how you do on your predictions for this season, because last season you were actually you got 2.
I mean, there was 3 I talked about extensively as possibilities. 1 I said we'd definitely take. I think I'd called quite a lot of it. Oluwatimi was on my list, and Mike Morris as well, and Cam Young as well was another one we talked extensively about. So yeah, those 3 were definitely on my list.
Weirdly, 2 Michigan players, and that was before we had the real Michigan connection like we have now. So this is going to be an interesting one. I think I got 1, which was a UDFA, which I think was Austin Falau, I think it was.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you called that for sure.
I was ringing the bell for him because his college production looked fantastic. Right, with that, and for everyone watching, should we get into this, Mitch, I'm going to roll this over to you. This is your baby. You are the man that has put so much time and effort into it. So here we go.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting one. I mean, I don't know how much people know about Latu, but this was a guy who played for UW originally, finished his collegiate career at UCLA, and when he left UW, had a very serious neck injury. It was a broken neck that he was told he would never play. It was a career and a football career-ending thing. And the first thing we've got here is what stands out, and I've stated there that he's not going to test particularly well physically and athletically. He's never been a guy that wins with those kind of traits. However, he's extremely polished technically. He's got a really good set of pass rush moves. He's quick off the snap. He will win at the next level without having to rely on bullying less sort of physically gifted players. He's not filling up his stat sheet with stats beating less. Over. Yeah, exactly. It's never been his way. He's had to beat them with skills that he's polished. So I think that translates really well. And that leads into the next part, which is key stats. And I've put there that he's got 23.5 sacks and 34 TFLs. Now that's not over his whole collegiate career in 4 seasons. That's 2 seasons after he was supposed to have been ruled out from ever returning to football. That's after breaking his neck. He managed to do that in 2 seasons. So that's a crazy stat line for anyone, especially considering that kind of setback.
It's still for me, obviously, that the broken neck thing is quite prominent for me with my physical history, but I still can't find anywhere that shows or tells you what it is. It doesn't tell you what he did. It's just broken neck, and you're like, is that cervical spine? Is it spinal cord? Is it? No one knows. I'm just gonna have to keep digging. I'll sure find it somewhere. If anyone watching knows, please tell me.
I'm sure it'll come up tonight because they'll be plugging in all kinds of information while they're competing. They'll do a large part on it, I'm sure. So we'll find out more about that tonight. Big shout out to Robert Smith from the Let's Talk Seahawks podcast in there, bigging up the combine week, which we're about to enter. Hello, yes, Robert. Dude. So we can talk there about upside. Final bit on this. Productivity, it doesn't rely on physical superiority at college level. It's gonna translate really well, I think, to the NFL. I think that's his upside. What he's already got is going to translate really well, and getting an NFL weight room and weight program and stuff. I think that upside is there, that he can add that to his game for sure.
And the last bit, draft projection. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by your projection here. But again, if he falls to where we want him to, then you've got him rubber stamp there.
Absolutely. Top 20 pick. Could go a lot higher than that, depending on how the results come back from doctors poking and prodding him this week, I think, at the combine. But certainly a top 20 pick. That feels pretty safe.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the overriding factor for a lot of people. I mean, you look at the reason DK fell was because he had a broken neck as well. And it's a lot to take on in a contact sport. It's going to take one awkward fall, hit, and he's out. You've spent a first round pick on someone who may not potentially play anymore. So I like it. I mean, I've watched quite a bit of his college tape. I'm very fortunate to have you feeding me a lot of it. So I've seen a lot of stuff. And like you said, the technical ability, it's not just him bull rushing people there. I think he's got a fantastic swim move, and it's his feet placement as well. He uses his feet so well to gain an outside leverage to get around someone. So I'm all about this one. Click onto the next one for you, mate. Love this guy.
Yeah, this is a cool one. Cooper DeJean is a really, really versatile player, and what stands out for him, they're absolutely everything. It's one of the most rounded skill sets you'll find of any prospect. You could put him at outside corner, you could put him in the nickel, you could put him at safety. He's going to be superb for you. The ball skills are there, the tackling security is there, working coverage is there. Just the way he mirrors underneath when he's tracking as well. Unbelievable player. One thing I really like about this as a Seahawks fit is if you imagine a Mike Mack defense where you've got Witherspoon being moved around as a defensive weapon, you never know where Witherspoon's going to be used. Is he blitzing? Is he the nickel? Is he going to be moving to the perimeter, out into the flats? You never know. If you've got DeJean there as well, you also don't know where he's going to be. Like it's just unbelievably difficult to know what your wide receivers, tight ends, etc., are going to be facing after the snap. So I don't know whether we'd likely to invest more first round money into our defensive backs. That seems a little sort of back heavy. But I love the idea of how well you could disguise packages with those two in there. So that's one thing I like about Tashin, for sure.
Well, there was a conversation, wasn't there, that you were having with a gentleman called Art on Twitter about the positional versatility and the fact that Mike Mack is going to want his Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
This
that was today, I think.
There was. I was watching with great interest. It's one of those I stayed out of, but I think someone like this, I think is a perfect way to have that sort of Kyle Hamilton role, so he can play at the line of scrimmage. He can play as essentially a linebacker. He can play deep coverage. He can come in on a blitz. I mean, his stats speak for himself. Two interceptions, 5 passes defense this season. But 7 in the past 2 years. I think he's definitely one to watch.
Absolutely, yeah. And his stats across the last couple of years have really sort of exploded. He's really filled out the stat sheet. He's got all the tape in the world. No matter where you'd want to put him in your own system, wherever you see him fitting, there'll be some tape for it because of how much he's been moved around. So I think teams will be quite high. As Robert pointed out there in the chat, not expected to do some of the drills. I think physical testing is about all he's doing. But yeah, like Robert says, physical freak. So he's probably not wanting to do, a slightly slow drill somewhere else that hurts his stock. He can just go out there with the tape he's got, flaunt the physical traits, and not harm himself at all. So that makes sense from his perspective. And then upside, positional fluidity, a dream combo with Spoon, as I addressed early on in that slide. So what's my projection, Josh? Pretty sure I know as I put it in there myself. We got another top 20 there. I think that's pretty safe. Next slide. Here comes a big boy.
Someone who we see a lot of people drafting him at 16 on Seahawks mock drafts. And again, yes, this is one that I am more than happy with. But again, I want to see how free agency shakes out, because if we retain Big Cat, we've still then got Jaron Reed. You're going to have your Mike Morris is coming back. There's positions, that group is going to be there or thereabouts. And I think Mike Morris, if he's back fully from injury, I think he's going to have a big part in Mike Mack's D.
Yeah, I think so. I do think we're going to see John Schneider go best player available again this year, and Brock Bowers, Jazon Newton, players like that. If they just happen to be there at 16, if he's true to the BPA strategy, I can't see, unless there's huge character concerns, I can't see us turning our noses up at a player like Jazon Newton. And I've put there in the what stands out. Part of that is living in the backfield. If you've watched Jazon Newton for any period of time in college football, he just seems to always get there, and it's madness. And if you think about what a Mike Mack defense looks like, you're trying to rush 4 a lot of the time and have extra versatile players in the back, on your end. This is a guy that's going to get there. So that's a brilliant, a guy that's got a knack of just always beating his man or double teams is superb for that kind of thing. And if you look at the stats, I mean, 18 sacks, nearly 28 tackles for loss.
Ridiculous.
College career. It's productive, seriously productive. Yeah, it's an absolute madness. And then upside, I put excellent scheme fit, good versatility, as you can play tackle or end for us, or 3-tech in a 3 front. We're going to see all of those combinations. So having a high motor, versatile lineman out there that makes it look like it could be a 4 or a 3 at any one time allows that sort of window dressing and everything that Mike Mack's going to want. So really good fit.
And I'm just waiting for all the Jalen Carter comps for him. So
I don't know if he's quite Jalen Carter, but
it's the best one in the draft class by many big boards, and I reckon someone's going to mention it. But yeah, rubber stamp top 20 again.
There we go.
Right, and then There we go.
There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so Fuaga's an interesting one here, and I think a lot of people project him to slide inside to guard at the next level, depending a bit on the system. But genuinely, I think a lot of people are going to use him on the interior, and that's exactly where I'd see him playing. If we were to take Fuaga at 16, or after a small trade back, if he was still there, I could see him being brilliant cover for Lucas, and I could see him being excellent on the inside of Charles Cross at left guard. It's a brilliant fit. He's a real competitor. Extremely strong in the run game. Needs to add a bit of savvy in the pass game, but that comes, and that's quite common with guards at college level transitioning to the NFL. They need to be usually polish up some pass pro. But he's an extremely good competitor, and I love watching how aggressive he is. There's some really good clips in the week leading up to the Senior Bowl where he was competing with I think it was with Latu. They had like a series of clips that went sort of semi-viral where Fuaga would dominate him
forth, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was Fuaga doing Latu, and then Latu would get a number over Fuaga, and they made each other look silly repeatedly. But it was two highly technical players showcasing their skill sets, which I love to see. So Fuaga's a really cool option there to play left guard for us. I've put what stands out: aggression, competitiveness, all the way through the play. Key stats there: 700 snaps, no sacks allowed, just 2 QB hits, which is mental. An upside there: run game dominance. I think if you want to make your run game look a bit better next year, having some guards that can really move men is going to be a good place to start, and he would certainly achieve that. So Fuaga's a really interesting choice there, and it gives us a nastier line as well, which I like.
So him and Lucas next to each other would be outstanding.
Yep.
I also love the fact that he's a Beaver, and he's from the other Oregon,
local boy.
Is good.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Right, there you go. And again, rubber stamp top 20. I think you smash that one out of the park. It is. It's just a pity that all of these in the top 20 we look at and think they'd be great in the Seahawks uniform, but we're never going to get them all.
I think all of these I expect to be available, but I genuinely like Jazon Newton. If he's there at 16, I think it's just run up to the podium. And it would be the same with Dallas Turner. It would be the same with Brock Bowers, like I mentioned earlier. There's a number of players, if they were there, if they are that clearly the BPA, they're getting drafted. So, yeah, good point for Robert as well. I mentioned earlier, I like him as cover for Lucas. He fixes the quality of the starting offensive line. He also adds depth there as well. We saw last year when we had some injuries how much we expected players to improvise and move around that line. Well, that would allow you to do that with a bit more starting quality. About your, it's a high quality band-aid basically, is what I'm trying to say. It's not just your standard.
What we
Band-Aid.
need. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Instead of rolling out Jason Peters at the age of 85.
He did okay.
He did. No, fair play. His stats weren't that bad. I expected worse, but yeah, we need more backup than that. Right.
Next one's an exciting one. It's someone who's been mocked to us quite a lot. The big boy Byron Murphy. And when I say the big boy, he's not the tallest. I don't know if that height's correct. I'm pretty sure he's 6'1". But he's a shorter prospect. But he is heavy. That weight is correct. He is over 300 pounds. So at 6'1", he's got a lot of mass on him. That is meaningful, powerful mass. He's not just a space eater. Another player that tends to live in the backfield. He would be a serious weapon there. Plays end and DT, so again would fit the scheme. I've put there what stands out: physical specimen and strength, but I've also put lack of length is another thing that stands out. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I did mention there, Sambo, that Byron's 6'1". I think it's just a typo.
It's me. Sorry.
But at least I spotted it. It shows I'm not just reading it off a sheet. So the lack of length does stand out, but his power really does still get him home. So he's a player that's overcome the challenges in front of him without that physical skill set like Latu. He's had to be powerful and technical in order to get to being a first round projection. And then the key stats there: lots of TFLs and lots of sacks. I think it's 15 or 16 TFLs, 8 sacks, 29 tackles, 13 of them solo, 5 sacks just in 2023. Upside, you've got versatility along the D line, fits multiple schemes. I think a lot of teams will see him as a fit to their system. Yeah, so any thought there on Byron Murphy? What would you feel about it? You've already said about taking a D lineman. You maybe depends a lot on free agency, but
yeah, and Robert said this. I think a lot of people are in the same sort of mindset with it. I think it's going to depend on free agency, and it's a matter of getting, like I said, best player available, but it needs to be the best player in a position of need. If we have a stacked D line, I don't see us taking someone that high. Especially, like I said, if we get Williams back, I think he's going to cover up a lot of those areas. I say I like him. I watched quite a bit of his tape earlier today whilst I was doing this, which is also a reason, may I just state there, just to cover my tracks here. If anything's wrong on this is what happens when you do your own graphics and don't just use a website to go off him. That was me taking information and trying to plug it in myself. So
your graphics look great, everyone. And I love that you laid a trap there for me to prove that I'm not just reading blindly off your slides.
That's why I did it. Really, it's why I did it. Really, just checking you're on the ball, Mitch. And we have him down.
Glad I passed. And there you go. We got a late first round grade on Byron Murphy. I do think he's somewhere between 20 and 32. I don't think he slides out the first round. Honestly, I think he's too talented. So
I don't think I've seen many actual mocks that have got him sliding out the first. So yeah. I'm with you on that one. And then we've got this man.
There we go. This is a fun one. This is fun. Anyone that watched the Longhorns this year, saw some strange glitches in the Matrix where they saw a 360-pound nose tackle playing tight end. If there's a guy, if there's a stereotypical body type that you could see playing both sides of the ball, you're thinking safety that's maybe playing wide receiver, or someone who's got good ball skills going both sides of the ball. You're not looking at the nose tackle and going, that's a versatile guy, a top athlete, he can play tight end in my system. But Robert's right. Robert just saying there that big man can move, and he certainly can. He was used a lot as a run blocking aid. I think they probably put him out there just to aid the run game initially, but then occasionally chucked him the ball anyway. He was out there listed as a tight end. He was an eligible receiver, and I think it was two or three touchdowns he had last year as a nose tackle, subbing in as a tight end. So that is a real standout for T'Vondre Sweat. But when I've actually written down the true standout, it's just gigantic human being, 6'4", 362, space-eating nose tackle, can also play DT. And I think that's key from a Seahawks angle, because I mentioned earlier that some of our looks, we might have 7 players up at the defensive line, but actually when come the snap, there's only going to be 3 or 4 still there, or 4 or 5 maybe, still there. Whether that's a 3... it turns out to be a 3-4, or whether it's a 4, he's either going to be a defensive tackle or a nose tackle. So it has to be believable that he could be either. Otherwise, you don't sell, the bluff. So any nose tackle that is out on the field for us doing that role needs to be the center of a 3, or needs to be alongside another DT, stuffing the run in tandem with another DT. So he can do that. He's shown that. The motor's there. I mean, damn, if you can play both sides of the ball, you're clearly very fit, which is weird because he's 362.
Well, as we just said, those was using imperial measurements. He's 26 stone.
Yeah,
20.
It's mad.
For reference, last time I weighed myself, I was 17, and I'm not a small human being. By way of amateur rugby, I'm around about normal for my position. That is ridiculous. He's eaten enormous. Like what, over half of one of me. It's just silly.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, by the way, that are coming through on X, on YouTube, or on Facebook? we'll try and address them towards the end, but we're going to try and look at the prospects for now, and then we'll look at, because we've got some coming in. So it's draft projection.
We can save those. Yeah, so draft projection. I'm saying late first again here. You may notice that we are going down, the draft in a sort of order here. Yeah, Robert, I think you're probably wincing and just bracing for the hit. I don't think that ends well for anyone there.
That's just pure hope, isn't it?
And the next guy
this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, Leonard Taylor III. This is a really interesting one because beginning of the year he was more of a top 20 prospect, and he was someone that I really liked. He's one of my first draft crushes this year because, again, like Jason Newton, he was living in the backfield, constantly getting pressure even if he didn't get the sack. He was bullying offensive linemen. It was poetry to see. His highlight reels are all out there. But if you do watch any highlight reels, you will notice not too much productivity in 2023. And I think he got kind of teams were posing different challenges to him last year. And he didn't quite overcome those, I don't think. I think he's kind of, I don't want to say he's been found out because he hasn't really. At the next level, he may well see less double teams. Teams may, if you put him on certain teams, they wouldn't be able to afford to double team the rookie. There'll be other players, established NFL players, that are attracting attention, and he might get back to his 2022 production based on teams not being able to scheme for him. So I think last year he was a very talented player on a line where he was the star, and he was accounted for accordingly. But what stands out? Power, speed, and more power. The guy's a brute. He's an absolute brute, and he needs scheming for. Ignore him at your peril. But as I've said it there, key stats: only 1 sack in 2023, and 20 tackles. So they were staying away from Leonard Taylor as much as possible last year, I think. And I've touched on the upside there. He was schemed against to stop him, and teams that do that in the NFL. The rest of the D line will feast. So that's your upside there.
I mean, he's got the power to speed to power. I think he's got down the stuff I've watched from him. Like I said, he lives in the backfield and he beats offensive linemen in multiple ways, depending on who he's against. But I think, like I said, this season especially, people started to factor him in a lot more. And he wasn't quite getting as free. He was still getting the step, and he was still sort of living there, but they accommodated it so well for him. I love this guy, and you said late first. I think late first, early second, depending on what mock draft simulator you use, whether it's mock draft database, PFM, PFF. Sometimes he goes sort of set like midway through the second, depending on where teams are picking. But again, all I'm going to stress, and I will stress this over X, over any social media that I'm on or we're on, let's not get too hasty because we've still got free agency to get through first. Once free agency is done, then we know what teams' needs are and where people are going to pick. I say that purely because I've been absolutely slated for some of my mocks, and I just have to sort of caveat with that. So who's next?
We're going to see the other side of the ball now, I think. But still the trenches. We've got Troy Fatanu. There's a bit of, I think, with the personnel we've now got on offense with our O-line coach and with our OC, this one makes a whole heap of sense, especially if we're trading back. Troy Fatanu is a really versatile lineman. I think he projects inside at guard a lot like Fuaga. Fuaga's likely to go higher. Troy Fatanu comes off the board after Fuaga, I think. Mm-hmm. But for us, it's a good fit. It's another local option. I've got there what stands out: versatility, dominance, and character. Leadership traits there as well, which I think are a little bit lacking potentially if we lose our center from last year. Oluwatimi was a good team leader at Michigan, but that's not what's been expected of him. I think if you put another rookie offensive lineman in there with leadership qualities, that looks really strong for the future. Having characters like that sort of taking over the reins. I really like the idea, again, of someone that can play tackle or guard, cover for cross, sorry, not cover for cross. Well, cover for cross, but more, importantly, cover for Lucas with his knee surgery. Yeah. Key stats. There's a lot of snaps there. Only the 2 sacks allowed. I know you never really want to be allowing sacks, but interior lineman and offensive line is playing 2 different positions. A huge sample size of snaps. 2 sacks is not bad by any stretch. I've put their upside run game dominance, moving him inside. Looks like a way of putting him regular in situations where he's truly excelled. I think our running game going between, not necessarily always bouncing outside, is a way of potentially getting a lot more out of our 2 running backs. We had more success, I think, last year when we took the ball outside. I'd really like to see us have sort of dynamism to attack in all different ways, be less predictable, see Ken blown up less because we're doing something that's slightly anticipated. I think Troy Fatanu can add that. Any thoughts there on Fatanu?
No, I think you've nailed it there. He's a hometown guy, so people are going to love him. I mean, you have to be dominant on the O-line when you've got Michael Penix as your quarterback, because for all the injuries he's had, I didn't see a great deal of the mobility he was much forward for like previously last season. And also, you don't want an O-line like wet paper that is just going to get him injured all the time. I think
Absolutely.
He's a good prospect, but I think it's one of those where we will need to trade back from 16 to recoup a second to hopefully get him. But that'll be a very, very vain hope. And it's going to depend on who's before us and what their needs are. So
yeah, I think it's an idyllic situation if we can move back, pick up a second or an early third. Either way, a decent day 2 pick, and still get someone that improves our O-line and gives us versatility. That's just a lot of boxes ticked if we can pull that off. So, John Schneider, over to you on that one.
Here's your boy.
Yeah, fun one this. Peyton Wilson. So he's rising up a lot of boards. There's people that really, really like Peyton Wilson, and there's a lot of people that have got a lot of concerns. So Peyton Wilson is the defensive side of the ball version of Michael Penix Jr. in terms of multiple ACL injuries. You'll see him playing with a knee brace, which you'd usually see on an O lineman, which immediately sort of draws attention to the exact area that they're worried about. Now, since those injuries, he's been incredibly productive. I think he's averaged 13 and a half games in the last 2 years. I think it was 13 and 14 games. So since returning, he's been healthy. While healthy, he's been productive, and the stat sheet shows you that in abundance. You've got a linebacker here that can mix it in coverage really competently. That shows up in his interceptions. I think it was 3 last year, but it was 7 overall in his college career. Those are DB numbers from a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
His sideline to sideline speeds are very good. He's good going north to south as well. I really, really like putting a guy in there that can just do it all. We haven't really had that for a while. Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner are very north south. They're not east west guys. We've not had that really at a good level since we had KJ Wright. He was everything, and Bobby Wagner was just very sort of north and south. This is a guy that can provide us with that, I think, and a lot of teams see him as a really good scheme fit. There's just a lot of questions about those injuries, and also tackling technique. People do not like the fact that people don't like the fact. I think UK 12th man in our Discord had this out with me this morning about the fact that he tackles very high. They're not good sort of technique tackles, and I think a lot of it is because he plays very quick and very instinctive. He doesn't get himself necessarily into a position where he's thinking about his tackling technique. He's trying to hit. He's trying to sort of be really sort of twitchy and quick, and almost like he's trying to prove something. I really have a problem with this really high jerseys. I can understand it when it's an O lineman because their gut won't fit the shirt.
Come on, we're not a fashion pod, but there's a lot of photos that I got of these prospects where I'm like, why are their jerseys always like halfway up here? Like, whatever floats your boat. I'll put this out there for the ladies. That's what it was. So.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah,
mid-second
absolutely,
grade.
Robert. Yeah, mid-second grade there. I can see that rising. His stock is going up. If the doctors are happy with him and he tests well, as Robert's saying there, he could shade back end first round. Similar with Edgerrin Cooper, and I think he might well be coming up shortly. Similar situation there. But yeah, mid-second. Yeah, okay, yeah. UK
Completely
12th
agree.
man saying there about tackling RBs. I do think we could see that being an area for improvement for sure. But yeah, Peyton Wilson's rising up a lot of boards. Um, big amount of excitement there. So James Williams, the safety slash linebacker.
Safety. I had to put the inverted commas in there. So
Yeah, if you look at a lot of his stats, some of it will say DB, some of it will say linebacker. He's incredibly fluid. Again, like Cooper DeJean, do you really know what he's going to be in a Mike Mack system? Because he's so competent with his tackling, he's so competent in coverage, he's just athletically really good, hard hitting player. Honestly, he's such a good fit for what I think we're going to be building. What's standing out about him? Positional fluidity, linebacker, safety, DB. Key stats, you look at them, so many tackles, 73 tackles, 4 interceptions. It's a madness. Sorry, last year was just 73 tackles alone. It was 162 tackles over his college career. It's a madness. 13 PDs. That's a linebacker. Madness. Absolute madness. Upside, health and consistency. I think one thing that really jumps out is just how many games he's played in college. When you look at it, it's something like it's about 52 games in 4 years. That's a really, really solid return, in terms of someone being a cornerstone of your defense and being available. And that's not a stab at Jamal Adams and his availability, but we've been paying safeties that have been injured. Having a guy out there, yeah, it's not. I promise you, it's not. It's topical and it's well timed, but it's not. It's not what I'm saying. But yeah. Also, there's that thing about him shining in coverage. Jamal Adams, not so much, not so much. But yeah, Cam Chancellor size 6'3", 213 pounds. There is some of that in there.
Yeah.
Mid-second round grade on there.
Here he is. Now, this man, before you got in, I was all hyped about him, and then I'm pretty sure you'll tell us all about sort of what happened. But his draft stock has started going down a little bit, hasn't it?
It's up and down. He recently, actually, I was watching a show with Field Yates and Mel Kiper before we came on air, and they'd actually had Edgerrin Cooper shading the first round. I think he was taken by the Dallas Cowboys at 20. I want to say 24. I think they're picking 24. They had him go in there, and that for me was really interesting. He's definitely for me a day 2 player and an early day 2 player at that. The reason why his draft stock had dropped off a little bit was to do with him pulling out of the Senior Bowl, and when asked about it, saying, "Go watch my tape. I don't need to do this." And that sounds incredibly arrogant, but actually, when you look at it, there were plenty of people that pulled out for exactly the reasons he said. They just didn't say it like that, and I think there's a little bit of media training needed there.
Yeah, it was a delivery. It was definitely delivery, because if he'd gone, look at my tape, I want to save myself for the combine and putting my best foot forward there. But instead he went, I don't need to do this. Look at my tape. Oh, mate. No.
But what annoys me about it with him is that in reality, he's going to the Senior Bowl. He's currently projected as a second round player. There isn't a standout first round linebacker this year in terms of interior linebacker, right? Why not have the confidence in yourself to break into the first round? Why not say to yourself, if I turn up at the Senior Bowl and show out, I can breach the first round, get the first round money, make a real name for myself, explode onto the scene. Instead, the angle he took was, I've done enough. If you don't believe me, watch my tape. I'm just gonna ditch this. I've done my bit. It
I mean, it
didn't
shows
look
as
good.
well. The bowls are a fantastic showpiece. Look at the Shrine Bowl. So Frank Gore Jr., his draft stock probably elevated from that. Malik Washington as well. Just two names on that. I can't remember what the
Spencer Rattler had a really, as much as I don't like Spencer Rattler, he had a game. MVP, Senior Bowl MVP. That was another. So there are stories of players doing that. I think he's probably just worried about the injury, felt like he stood to lose more than he could gain, when in reality there was room for him to gain, and it showed arrogance, and it showed possibly a lack of self-belief. If I was him and I was as good at what he does as he is, I'd be out there trying to show out. I'd be center stage in the limelight, trying to do that. He didn't back himself to do that, or at least he took the negative side of that coin, and just not for me. Like that upset me a bit. I was really hyped on him, really wanted us to get him, and now I see a little bit of a negative twinge to this. But yeah, effective going north to south, east to west. It's very good sideline to sideline. Also chips in with a lot of TFLs and sacks, so he's obviously good in blitz packages and things as well. Fantastic tackling technique, real textbook player. Key stats there I've mentioned. Upside athleticism and a well-rounded skill set. Could mix it in coverage for us. Can play the hook, or sit there and assist in the run, in the run stuffing as well. An all-round player that could immediately provide starting quality, mid-second round player.
Nice and easy. Here we go. Here's the man whose dad liked your tweet.
Yeah, Cooper Beebe. Here we go. So I tweeted out a mock draft this week where we took Cooper Beebe in a second round pick after a trade back, and for the first half an hour that it was dangled out there on X, the only person that actually liked the tweet and liked my mock was Cooper Beebe's dad, Tom Beebe.
What an endorsement!
So yeah, so his dad liked it, and he knows him better than anyone, so it must have been a good mock. So what stands out with Cooper Beebe, right? You've got a real big body, well-developed run game interior lineman here. Extremely versatile. He's played tackle and guard. I believe he's taken snaps at center as well, not for a prolonged period of time. He's dominant in the run game, hard to move, really good anchor, and also known to be a leader in that locker room as well. So that for me ticks an awful lot of boxes. Definitely ticks some John Schneider boxes there with the character uptick as well. Key stats: it's 870 snaps, 8 quarterback carries, 1 sack, no QB hits from left guard position. That's really good for a guy that they're moving around to not be culpable for a huge amount of damage. Is really good. You'd think when someone's moved around like that much, they're not the key player on that O line. They're someone that can do bits and pieces, and you can move them around to cover wherever. He was being moved around to positions where he could make the most impact. They were moving him so he could impact the game, and nowhere that they put him was a liability, and that's superb. Really like that. Upside, being a starting level player at 4 out of 5 spots along our line. I think anywhere where you put him, he's of starting quality. I don't think he's an improvement at either tackle spot, but he's certainly a willing and capable deputy. And anywhere we put him at guard, I think he's an improvement, and it improves that line. So
as well, when you look at Deal, who might, if he doesn't re-sign, we need a left guard. So mid-second for him.
There you go. Tom Beebe will like that one. Hope he's watching. So this is a topical one today. Junior Colson. So Junior Colson was interviewed today at the Combine, and he'd said that he'd just come out of a formal interview with John Schneider and the scouts. So we know already that there is solid interest in Junior Colson's skill set. I really like this player for similar reasons to Edgerrin Cooper. He's very good sideline to sideline. Outstanding tackling technique. There won't be a better tackler in this draft at any position. I genuinely stand by that. I honestly think he's absolutely superb. I think he's what we. I don't want to say he's what we got from Bobby Wagner, because Bobby Wagner is a walking Hall of Famer. But when you see Bobby Wagner on the field, you know if someone runs it straight up the gut, if the D line don't get him, Bobby Wagner's getting him. That's the assurance I feel with Junior Colson. And that's a really high level of praise, I think, when you're that confident in someone's tackling technique and instincts to feel that secure. And also he gives you that that bit of confidence in coverage as well. If he's shaken up on the snap and he's moved into covering someone and needs to track someone, he's got the length, he's got the athleticism, and he's got the coverage skills to certainly give you a good chance there of disrupting the play. Yeah, there you go. UK 12th man coming out with that as well. And I tend to agree with that personally.
And as Mitch has said, one of my big bugbears is the lack of tackling ability. This man is my wet dream when it comes to a linebacker, purely because his technique, the angles of approach, the dip, everything biomechanically, it works so well. The power he generates just from a simple dip of the hips and the shoulders is brilliant. Even if he's not going to put in a big hit, he's going to tackle and wrap, which is exactly what we need. It's what we lacked so much last season.
Absolutely.
And let's try to go forward rather than back. There we go. Day 2 prospect. And if we can get him, I will be over the moon. I'm pretty sure Mike Mack will be as well.
Absolutely. I agree. I think it's a godsend if we can pick up someone like that. So Tatum Bethune is a fun one. A lot of people have got him projected as an undrafted free agent or a round 7 player. But Tatum Bethune is wildly productive for the Seminoles. The amount of tackles and the amount of film that's out there of him doing really good stuff is there for everyone to see. He feels a little one-dimensional to some people. When you think about the reasons that Bobby Wagner won't be back this year, potentially, limitations in coverage or limitations in other areas now at his age, those sorts of things are slightly lacking from Tatum Bethune's game. If he has a good combine and he shows upside with his athleticism, he goes from potentially undrafted to round 6, in my opinion. I think Tatum Bethune could be a absolutely outstanding undrafted pickup for us if he doesn't get drafted. And if we took him in the 6th or the 7th after some good testing, I wouldn't be upset at all. I think he's a superb player. In fact, I made a little video of Tatum Bethune. I think I've shown you, haven't I, Josh? And it's just his big moments because he's got such a good highlight reel. Really entertaining player. So yeah, intelligent player. And there you go. That's my take on Tatum Bethune. Day 3 pick, yeah. Here's a guy. So Vaki is a player that's on a lot of players' lips a lot of people's lips at the moment. He's going up a lot of people's draft boards. I think people look at him as a real ball of clay that can be molded into many different systems. He high points the ball really well. He's super aggressive at going up for contested catches. Won a lot of those at college level. I think a lot of people wonder whether he can do that in the NFL as consistently as he's done it in college. It would be a really good player to pick up on day 3, in my opinion. If you look at what we've looked for in sort of immediate contributions for special teams, we look at physical players that are quick. Everything Jerick Reed did last year is kind of what you'd be looking to get from Vaki in year 1. I also think that if he can allow that competitiveness and with contested catches, high pointing the ball, smashing receivers the second they receive the ball, it's really instinctive with that. It's got a Cam Chancellor-esque knack of of allowing a player to receive the ball. If he can't mix it, if he can't contest the catch itself, he'll time his hit and really leave a mark on players. That was something we love seeing from Cam Chancellor. Nothing was safe. There was no safe catches with Cam Chancellor around, because even if you made the catch, you had to withstand the hit, and that is what Vaki gives. So huge upside with what he could be. I do think that he's inflated his stock a little bit with how he's competed against lesser players.
We've got him as a day 3.
Day 3 player, yeah. He the way people are talking about him currently, sneaking into day 2 could well be a day 2 player, but I've got him at day 3.
And here is your last one to watch for now. Obviously, every week we'll be going through different ones. We'll do a combine recap after this as well to see how people have gone. But AJ Barner, tight end, talk to me.
Yeah, this is a really nice one. A lot of people have started mocking AJ Barner to the Seahawks, projected as a 6th or 7th. We've obviously got a pipeline and a tradition of taking Michigan players. He's when you look at what Michigan did last year, right? They didn't throw the ball so much. They ran the ball a lot. They needed everyone to be involved in their run game and doing their part. He was essential in a lot of their running schemes. And when you look at how little they threw the ball and with JJ McCarthy, I feel like the huge upside on AJ Barner is that he's not overly rated as a receiving tight end, but then the sample size of what he was actually fed is so small, there could still be an outstanding receiving tight end there as well. But what you're getting as an absolute minimum, the baseline with him, is a guy that can come in and aid your running game immediately and has had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of snaps doing exactly that. AJ Barner would come in with a low cost in terms of what we draft capital. It wouldn't be very much, and we'd have a guy for 3 or 4 years at worst who can really, really aid with run blocking. So big fan, and I love that the upside is kind of an unknown with AJ Barner, with how good he could be in that.
What I loved when you sent me the notes to put on this was key stats, see running back productivity for the Wolverines. Basically, it was like that is it. So I did a bit of a deep dive, and I was like, right, what was the 2023 stats? 20 receptions, 249 yards with 11.3 average. The touchdowns may not have been there, but like as we all know, Michigan weren't a throwing football team last season. That's still a first down for every single reception, which is exactly the productivity you want from a tight end, especially if it's going to be a late round tight end, predominantly used for blocking. If you can get him out to the flat, so you can get him on a really shallow ball, and he can get you that first down, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Just keep moving the sticks. And then we've got him there, day 3.
Yeah. I really like that. I really like that pick for us. I think we could well take 2 tight ends, and if we are, one of them will be your receiving tight end, one will be someone to aid the run game, and that he just makes so much sense.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I think you smashed that out of the park. I mean, we've got, before we go on our Discord and we do the live watch party of the combine, which Mitch and I will both be on. I'll be on there once I've done a couple of jobs around the house. But we'll be watching that. Feel free to join us. If you don't know what our Discord link is, we'll pop it on our X. By all means, just come join in, have a chat. It's a growing community now with some fantastic people in there. Robert's in there, UK 12 Man's in there as well. So thank you everyone for watching. I'm just going to go through some of these comments here as well. So obviously Robert's put in there, I love a true inline tight end. Receiving on a tight end are just slow wide receivers. True. That's why I think Bobo's final form is going to be that of a tight end. We've also got receiving on the tight ends, just heavy. Thank you. There you go. See, I didn't even read your comment to start with. He's not. Obviously, UK 12 Man's always come in. He's also come in with the Vaki, and I think everyone is sort of on that boat now. We did get one question, which we'll get to now. So this is from Scott Anderson over on X. Do you believe Gino's new deal is so he'll be more appealing for a potential trade this offseason? Now, I I'm in two minds about this. I genuinely think the value you're getting with Gino, and you know what he's getting, you know what you're getting with him, and the fact you've got a brand new head coach with a new system, I think you're going to want to have a experienced quarterback that you can then move other pieces around. Let's sort out all the other holes because we know Gino's effective. If we can get him a good O-line, and then we can let Grubb use the wide receiving core, the tight ends, the running backs as they should be, Gino will be fine. He doesn't cost the earth. However, if we let him go, and this is my big issue with dead cap, we let him go, that's just dead money that's lying there that for a player that we could have had. So I personally think that we should keep Gino. Whether we do or not, who knows what's going to happen, but that's my feeling would be to keep Gino. Mitch?
Well, I think now that we've converted some money there. If we trade him, we've got 27 million of dead cap. So yes, if you're trying to convert some of this year's cap into slightly more capital in the draft, that's the only thing I can think you'd do it for. And at that stage, it looks like you're tanking the season, like trading your starting quarterback for an extra pick. It's not very Seahawks. It doesn't fit the culture. Honestly, I see this as almost like a commitment to him for the next 2 years while they're rebuilding. I think with the length of the contract that we handed out to Mike Mack, there's clearly a roadmap of what do we establish, what do we work on, when do we hand over the reins to a rookie QB and start that win now window. I don't think it's within the next 2 years. So Gino being there is great. And I will say this one last thing on that situation. If you were to look at every franchise in the league and look at who might have use for Geno Smith, you'd probably find about 5 or 6 teams that could use Geno Smith, and we'd be one of those teams. A team in transition that needs a senior, that could use a senior player like Geno Smith, we'd be high on that list. So to trade him away and have that much cap hit, and then try and get someone else to, I just don't. I think we're locked in on Gino for 2 years. Honestly, I think we're now locked in on Gino.
I think Robert said it makes no sense. I mean, with that, we've got just under 3 minutes until the combine starts. So thank you to everyone who's tuned in on YouTube, Facebook, on X. Make sure you follow us on all of the above. Facebook page, we've got an Instagram and X. Like and subscribe as well if you can. Hit that notification bell on YouTube. We're also available on pretty much every single podcasting platform now, and that should be out tomorrow morning. Apart from that, Mitch, I'm looking forward to having a proper chat with you off air, and anyone else who wants to join us in the Discord, by all means do so. We can't wait to have you there. Let's get into some combine. Oh,
love it.
Nice one. And let's finish with a Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.